Mama Neka, come and see what your daughter has done. Mama Adanna called out. Mama Neka dropped the yam she was peeling and hurried to the commotion. What is it this time? She asked. Ask your daughter what she just told everyone about Mama Chitty's chicken. Mama Adanna replied sharply. Neka's mouth wide open. Mama, I said it now. I said what I said. I said what I saw yesterday evening. I was coming back from the stream when I saw Mama Chitty's big red rooster dancing in circles under the moonlight. Then it started laying eggs by itself, without even mating, and the eggs were glowing. Mama, like stars. Murmur rippled through the crowd. Some people leaned closer, hungry for more details. Others shook their head in disbelief. Dancing roosters that lay glowing eggs, Papa Emeka exclaimed. Child, roosters don't lay eggs. That's basic knowledge. But I saw it with my own two eyes, Neka protested. Maybe it's not normal rooster. Maybe it's bewitched. Bewitched? Mama Chitty, who just arrived at the scene, screamed. What are you saying about my rooster? I'm not saying anything bad though, Mama Chitty. Neka replied. I'm just telling people what I observed. You know how these things are sometimes. Sometimes animals behave strangely when there is spiritual activity around. The crowd began to whisper among themselves. Spiritual activity? Are you calling me a witch? Mama Chitty screamed. No, Neka shouted. I would never say such a thing. But you know what people would think when they hear about dancing roosters and laying golden eggs. Neka, we need to go home now. Mama Neka pulled her daughter away from the crowd. As they walked away, Adaeze could hear the crowd behind them, erupting in heated discussion. By evening, the story had grown wings and flown to every compound in the village. My child, what really happened with that rooster? Adaeze asked her daughter Neka. Neka shrugged. It got into Mama Nkechi's compound and scattered some grains. Then it made noise and flapped its wings. A lot, but that's all I saw. That's all? How did it become a dancing rooster and laying glowing eggs? Well, Neka smiled. Stories are more interesting when they have some flavor, don't you think? Like adding pepper to soup. My daughter, she said, when you add too much pepper to soup, it becomes impossible to eat. Do you understand? But Neka was already distracted, her mind racing with possibilities of her next tale. 3 weeks after the rooster incident, customers started avoiding Mama Chitty's stall at the market. I don't want to buy from someone whose chicken might be, one woman whispered to another, loud enough for Mama Chitty to hear. Then the children began running away when they saw her coming. There goes the rich woman, they giggled before disappearing around corners. Finally, when someone left a dead chicken at her doorstep, Mama Chitty's husband decided it was time. We are going to my brother's village, he announced. At least people there don't know us with these bad stories. Neka watched the family load their belongings onto a rickety truck with genuine surprise. Mama, why are they leaving? She asked. You really don't know? How would I know now? I just told people what I saw. What you saw or what you imagined you saw. Does it matter? People believe what they want to believe. If Mama Chitty has nothing to hide, why would she be running away? Your mouth has chased them away. You lied against an innocent family. That evening, when Ikenna returned from the farm, his wife pulled him aside. Our daughter is becoming dangerous, she whispered. Her mouth is like a broken dam. It floats everything in its paths. Ikenna nodded grimly. He had been hearing reports about Neka's storytelling from other men in the village. The consensus was not favorable. I will talk to her, he promised. He sat Neka down for a serious conversation. Papa, people in this village love stories. You should see how they gather whenever I talk. I make their boring lives very interesting. Interesting? You drove an innocent family away from their home. Did I? I never told anyone to treat Mama Chitty badly. I just shared what I observed. What people do with the information is their choice, not mine. Neka! He shouted at her. Do you understand that words have power? That what we say can hurt people? Of course, Papa. But people also need to know the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. But what you said about Mama Chitty wasn't the truth. It was fantasy. You lied against an innocent woman. How do you know? How do you know it wasn't true? Were you there? Did you see what I saw? My daughter, your mouth will one day bring trouble that your feet cannot carry away from you. Nneka laughed. Papa, you worry too much. What's the worst that could happen? Mazi had been selling palm wine in Umuokpu for 15 years. He served the best palm wine in 3 villages, properly fermented, never watered down, always fresh. His younger brother Udo stopped by to discuss their mother's medical bills and family finances. Nneka, passing by on her way to the stream, caught fragments of their discussion where they said, "More money than expected. Not the church purse again. Don't tell anyone about this." Oh. By the time she reached the village square, those fragments had grown into a fully formed narrative. "I don't want to spread gossip," she said. "But do you know that Mazi has been hiding money?" "Hiding money?" Mama Kelechi asked. "What do you mean?" "Well, I was walking past his compound this morning when I heard him and his brother talking about money they didn't expect to have. They kept saying, 'Don't tell anyone about this,' and the church purse. Now, I'm not saying he stole anything, no," she continued, "but you know how Mazi was recently chosen to help distribute the church's charity money to widows and orphans." The suggestion hung in the air like smoke from a dying fire. "You think he's been taking money from the charity fund?" Obiageli asked. "I didn't say that, oh," Nneka replied with practiced innocence. "I'm just wondering where a palm wine seller would suddenly get unexpected money from, and why he would be so secretive about it." By the afternoon, the whispers had reached every corner of the village. By evening, they had crossed into the neighboring communities. By the next morning, they had acquired details that even Nneka hadn't imagined. "I heard he's been charging widows double for palm wine and keeping the extra money," one story went. "Someone told me he waters down the palm wine he sells to poor people and charges them for full price," another version claimed. "My cousin said he takes bribes to give certain people more charity money than they deserve," whispered a third. When the church elders came to investigate the allegation, they found Mazi Okafor's record perfectly in order. Every naira was accounted for, every transaction documented. But then, the damage was done. Even if all the money is there, people reasoned, where there is smoke, there is fire. Why would someone make up such specific accusations? Customers stopped coming. The men who used to travel from other villages to buy his palm wine began purchasing elsewhere. His reputation for honesty crumbled in less than a week. Mazi Okafor, his wife, cried one evening as she counted their dwindling savings. "What are we going to do? No one trusts us anymore." "I don't understand this," he replied. "I've never cheated anyone in my life. How did these stories come about?" Meanwhile, Nneka was already moving on to her next target. Her appetite for drama and attention only whetted by the spectacular results of her last tale. Ngozi was the kind of girl that mothers held up as an example for their own daughters. At 19, she was engaged to Chukwudi, a young man from the prosperous Okeke family in the neighboring village of Umueze. Both families spent months negotiating bride price, planning ceremonies, and preparing for what promised to be one of the most celebrated weddings. One evening, Ngozi's cousin Emeka arrived from their grandmother's village with troubling news. Their grandmother was seriously ill and asking for her. "She might not have much time left," Emeka explained quietly as he and Ngozi spoke privately near the compound's entrance. "She specifically asked for you to come. She says there are things she needs to tell you before." "Of course I will come," Ngozi said without hesitation. "But my wedding preparations, the ceremony is in 2 weeks. Maybe after the wedding will be better," Emeka suggested. "Grandmother is old. She might..." "No," Ngozi shook her head. "If she's calling for me, I have to go. Some things are more important than wedding preparations." They held their conversations in low, respected tone as befitting conversations of an elder's illness, which lasted few minutes. They embraced briefly, and Emeka left with Ngozi's promise to travel to see their grandmother within a week. It was a perfect ordinary interaction between family members, witnessed by perhaps a dozen of other people going about their evening activities. No one thought anything of it, except Nneka, who had been returning from the market and observed the scene with characteristic attention to drama. By the next morning, her version of events were already spreading through the village like spilled palm oil. I don't like to gossip, oh, but I saw something very interesting yesterday evening. What did you see? Mama Ako asked. Well, you know how Ngozi is supposed to marry Chukwudi in 2 weeks? Several women nodded. The upcoming wedding was one of the village's main topic of conversation. I was walking past their compound yesterday when I saw her with another man, a very handsome man. This got their attention. Heads turned towards Nneka with renewed interest. Another man? Obiageli asked. What do you mean another man? I mean, Nneka's voice dropped into a conspirational whisper. She was talking very intimately with someone who definitely wasn't Chukwudi. Very intimately, oh, and when they thought no one was watching, they embraced. The women exchanged glances. Are you sure about what you saw? Mama Aku shouted. I saw what I saw, Nneka replied. Now, maybe it was innocent too, but the way they were looking at each other, the way they touched, she let the sentence trail off meaningfully. Of course, she added quickly, I would never judge anyone. Maybe she was just saying goodbye to someone from her past. You know how these things happen now. Sometimes people have relationships before they get married. And maybe she just needed to close that chapter properly. Poor Chukwudi, whispered Mama Kelechi. Does he know? How could he know? Nneka asked with full sympathy. He lives in the next village, but maybe someone should tell him. It wouldn't be fair for him to marry someone who might not be completely committed to him. By the time the story completed its journey through the village gossip network, Ngozi had become a woman carrying on multiple affairs, meeting different men in secret, making a mockery of her engagements, while her innocent fiancé remained unaware of her deception. When the rumors reached Chukwudi's ears, twisted and embellished beyond all recognition, he felt pain of public humiliation pierce his heart like spear. Without seeking explanation or confronting Ngozi directly, he sent his family spokesman to formally withdraw the engagement. The broken engagement hit Ngozi's family like lightning from a clear sky. What do you mean they are withdrawing? Ngozi's father stared at the spokesman in disbelief. What reason did they give? The spokesman, clearly uncomfortable with his mission, he cleared his throat. They said they have heard reports of Ngozi's misconduct, reports that suggest that Ngozi might not be ready for marriage. Misconduct? What misconduct? Ngozi herself, on hearing the devastating news, asked, "What are they talking about?" There are stories, the man said, about you meeting with other men, about inappropriate relationships. Ngozi felt her world tilt around her. Other men? What other men? I don't understand what you are talking about. My daughter has done absolutely nothing wrong, her father declared angrily. These are lies. Who are spreading such lies? Could only shake his head sadly. The stories are widespread and they come from multiple sources. Chukwudi's family feel they cannot proceed with the marriage under such circumstance. You have to return the bride price. As news of the broken engagement spread through the village, reactions were mixed. Some people felt sorry for Ngozi, suspecting that the stories might be exaggerated. Others nodded knowingly, as if they had expected such drama all along. But the damage was complete and irreversible. In their traditional society, a broken engagement was more than a personal disappointment. Within a month, it became clear that Ngozi's marriage prospects in the village was finished. No respectable family risks associating with a woman whose reputation has been destroyed. We have to send her away, Ngozi's mother said tearfully one evening. Maybe to Lagos, where people don't know such stories about her. Send me away, Ngozi cried. This is my home. These are my people. Why should I be punished for things I didn't do? Because sometimes, her father said, the truth doesn't matter. What matters is what people believed. And so, Ngozi, who had done nothing wrong except have a private conversation with her cousin about her sick grandmother, found herself packing belongings for exile to a city she had never been to. One Thursday afternoon, Nneka was walking past the chief's compound and saw a delegation of men from neighboring villages meeting privately with the chief Okoro in his obi. two communities had a minor land dispute that required mediation, and Chief Okoro's wisdom in such matters was widely respected. But to Nneka's imaginative mind, any private meeting involving the chief and strangers was automatically suspicious. That evening, she began her most ambitious fabrication yet. "I probably shouldn't mention this, so," she said to a group of young men standing under the big oak tree. But did anyone else notice those strangers who met with our chief today?" "Strangers?" Obudiri, the chief's son, looked up from his cup. "What strangers?" "The men from Umuahia. They came with big bags and they had very long, very private conversations with your father." "So, people meet with the chief all the time. That's part of his responsibilities." "Of course," Nneka agreed quickly. I'm sure it was completely normal. But, well, did you know that there are companies in Lagos that want to buy large portions of our farmlands? Very valuable lands that has been in our families for generations." The young men exchanged glances. Land was always a sensitive topic in the agricultural community. "What are you suggesting?" asked Chinedu, whose family owned most of the fertile lands in the area. "I'm not suggesting anything, no," Nneka replied. "I'm just wondering what businessmen from Umuahia would have with our chief that required such secrecy, and they brought money, big bags of money." "Money?" Okudiri's voice sharpened. "You saw money?" "Well, they had bags, heavy bags. And when they left, your father seemed very thoughtful, deep in thoughts." She paused, letting the implications sink. "Of course," she added, "I'm probably wrong, oh. I'm sure Chief would never make any decision about our community's land without consulting everyone first. He's too honorable for that." The seed had already been planted. "You think he might be negotiating to sell our land?" Chinedu asked. "I didn't say that, oh," Nneka replied quickly. "But you have to admit, it would explain a lot. Why else would strangers bring money to meet with him privately?" By the next day, the story had acquired elaborate details that always seemed to attach themselves to Nneka's tales. The bags of money had become very specific sums. The private meeting had become a secret negotiation, and the land dispute mediation had become a conspiracy to sell the community's ancestral heritage to the highest bidder. "Chief," Papemeka approached him. "People are asking questions about meeting with those men." "Questions? What questions?" "It was a routine mediation session. Some people are saying it wasn't routine. Some are saying money exchanged hands." Chief Okoro stared at the elder in disbelief. "Papemeka, you've known me for over 30 years. Have you ever known me to act such dishonorably?" "Of course not, Chief. But you know how people talk and you know how stories start spreading." The chief felt cold. "Who is spreading these stories?" he asked. "It's hard to say. You know how these things are now. Everyone heard it from someone." Nneka woke up in her family's hut to find herself speaking words she hadn't chosen to speak. "I learned about the chief," her voice said clearly in the darkness. "I made up stories about him." She clapped her hands over her mouth over it in horror, but the words already escaped her lips. By morning, she woke up and walked to her mother. "Good morning, Mama." She tried to greet her mother normally, but her voice added without her permission. "I destroyed Mama Chitty's life with lies about her rooster." And then they dropped the water pot she was carrying. "Nneka, what did you just say?" "I don't know, Mama. These words just came out." But even as she protested, more unwanted confessions poured from her lips. "I read Mazi Okafor's business with false stories. I broke Ngozi's engagement with made-up tales. I tell tales about everything I see. I lied." Within an hour, word of Nneka's strange condition had spread through the village. People gathered outside the family's compound, some in shock, others in green satisfaction, as long suspected truths finally emerged from the source. As days passed, Nneka's tongue began to swell. At first, it was barely noticeable, but gradually, unmistakably, the organ began growing bigger and its limits. "Look at her mouth," children would whisper as she passed, no longer seeking her out for entertaining stories. Within a week, Nneka's tongue protruded several inches beyond her lips, making speech nearly impossible. The Dibia, who had once captivated audience with her eloquent fabrications, could now barely communicate at all. This is the work of the ancestors, Papa Emeka declared when he saw the edition. The spirits of truth are reclaiming what was stolen from our community. Her parents were beside themselves with worry. We must find help, Adeze said. Who can help us when ancestors themselves have passed a judgment? Ikenna replied. But love for their child, despite everything she had done, compelled them to try. Dibia Ezekwesili lived in a compound surrounded by medicinal herbs. When Nneka's family brought her to him, her tongue was so swollen. He observed her. This is not a disease of the body, he pronounced. This is rebellion of the spirit. Her tongue has been used as a weapon against truth, and now truth is fighting back. But surely you can help us, right? You've killed conditions that other healers couldn't help with. Dibia Ezekwesili shook his head. My herbs can't heal what nature has broken. Ikenna, who sold his goods and pawned his wife's jewelries to pay for treatment, was growing desperate. There must be something else you can do now. I have exhausted my knowledge, Dibia Ezekwesili admitted, but there is someone whose wisdom goes deeper than mine. Someone who might understand what forces are at work here. He was referring to Papa Nana, the ancient wise man who lived at the edge of the village. Few people sought his counsel unless they had tried everything else. Papa Nana was known for giving advice that was difficult to hear and even more difficult to follow. Take her to Papa Nana, the healer declared. Papa Nana was so old that children whispered he had been present at the creation of the world. Sit, my child, he said gently. Nneka lowered herself awkwardly. For a long time, Papa Nana looked at her, observed her in silence. Your tongue has grown large because it fed on poison. Every lie you told, every reputation you destroyed, every life you damaged. This became food for the tongue that spoke them. Now, it has grown too large for the mouth that houses it. Medicine cannot fix this, Papa Nana continued. Medicine cannot fix this because medicine fixes only sickness. This is natural result of using words as weapon. Papa Nana looked at her. There is a way, but it's not easy, and success is not guaranteed. The tongue that grew by consuming lies can shrink by dispensing truths, not just any truth. The specific truth needed to undo the damage that was done. Adeze felt a flicker of hope. What must she do? You must go to every person you have wronged. You must tell them exactly what you did and ask for their forgiveness. But understand this, forgiveness cannot be demanded, it must be freely given. She must accept whatever response she gets. If she succeeds in any forgiveness from those she wronged, then her tongue will return to its proper size. But if she fails, as they prepare to leave, Papa Nana offered one more advice. Begin with the one she wronged recently. Chief, Ikenna called out when they arrived at the chief's compound. We come seeking your audience. Our daughter, she wishes to speak with you. Chief Okoro set down his farming tool and looked at Nneka. Speak? From what I can see, speech has become difficult for her. Nneka struggled to kneel down to apologize. Child, Chief Okoro said gently, I can see your condition. I can see your distress. And I believe I understand why you are here. You told lies about me, didn't you? You spread stories that I took money to betray our village's interest. Nneka nodded vigorously, tears flowing from her eyes. And now you wish to take back those lies. Again, she nodded. I understand this condition of yours is connected to the wrongs you've done. But child, your apology, even if I could understand it clearly, cannot undo the damage. My reputation has been wounded. People who trusted me for decades now question my integrity. Some young men speak of choosing a new leadership because of the seed you have planted. However, he continued, I am old enough to understand the difference between justice and revenge. You are clearly being punished for your action. Perhaps your condition itself serves as a testimony of innocence. Your punishment becomes proof of my innocence. Therefore, I choose to forgive you, my daughter. Get up. I choose to forgive you. Get up. Stop crying. He helped lift her up and wipe her tears. For the first time in weeks, Nneka was able to close her mouth a bit. Her tongue shrunk a bit, and she was so happy. Encouraged by the slight improvements in her condition, Nneka's family hurriedly approached Mama Ngozi next. "How dare you!" Ngozi's mother screamed before they could even reach her doorway. "How dare you bring your cursed face to this place?" Ngozi attempted to kneel the traditional gesture of apology. "You destroyed my daughter's life," the woman continued. "Ngozi was going to marry a good man from a good family. She was going to give me grandchildren under our family name. Instead, she is working now as a housemaid in Lagos because of your lies." Before anyone could stop her, Mama Ngozi grabbed a bucket that had been sitting nearby and emptied its contents over Nneka's head. The smell immediately filled the room, making it clear that the pot had not contained water but urine. "That is what I think of your apology." Mama Ngozi spat. "You will carry that stink of your shame as my daughter carries the shame of your lies." Nneka's parents quickly pulled her away and took her home, while others shook their heads in dismay. Some laughed at what they saw as a poetic justice. Mazi Okafor's compound was quiet when they approached. "You!" he screamed. Without another word, he walked to his hut and emerged moments later carrying a sharp machete. "You destroyed everything I built. You destroyed my business, my reputation, my children's future. My son had to drop out of secondary school because we couldn't afford the fees anymore." Nneka's parents immediately started pleading. "I should cut out that tongue that poisoned my life. Maybe that would solve everyone's problem." "Mazi Okafor, please," Ikenna called desperately. "She is sick. She is being punished. She wants to make amends." "Make amends? Will her apology bring back customers? Will it restore my reputation? Will it put my son back in school? Will it give me back the 15 years I spent building a business that she destroyed in 1 week? You better run. You better run," Mazi Okafor said and chased them with a machete as they hurried away. Nneka's tongue throbbed with pain. Her tongue felt heavier, more cumbersome, as if the weight of the unresolved guilt was adding to its mass. "Maybe this is hopeless," Nneka suggested. News of Nneka's humiliating encounter spread through Umuokpu like wildfire. The image of her kneeling in the dirt, drenched in urine, while Mazi Okafor threatened her with a machete, became subject of intense discussion at every gathering. "She is getting what she deserves," declared Mama Kelechi. "For too long, that girl's mouth has been like a broken dam, flooding everything with poison. Now she's learning what it feels like to be victim instead of being the victimizer." "My people," Papa Emeka said when he approached a group of men gathered discussing the situation, "we are in danger of becoming the very thing we claim to despise. When we take pleasure in someone else's suffering, even someone who has wronged us, we poison our own hearts." "But Papa Emeka," argued Chinedu, "she destroyed innocent lives. Mama Chitty and her family were forced to leave the village. Ngozi is working as a servant in Lagos. Mazi Okafor's business has been ruined. Shouldn't there be consequences?" "There are consequences," the elder said. "Look at her condition. The ancestors themselves have passed judgment. But when we add our own cruelty to the justice, we risk becoming cruel ourselves." Chief Okoro finally called for a village meeting. "My people," he began as the community gathered at the village square, "we are witnessing something none of us has ever seen. A girl whose lies have brought supernatural consequences upon herself. But I fear we are also in danger of losing our way as a community. Some of you believe that Nneka should suffer without mercy for the pain she had caused others." An elder woman named Mamuju stood up from the crowd. "Chief, what would you have us do? Pretend that she never hurt us? Pretend like what she said was never existed? What would you have us do? Forgive her as if she was a mere child who stole palm nuts instead of someone who destroyed lives?" "I'm not asking everyone to pretend. What Nneka did was horrible, and the damage she caused is real. But I'm asking us to remember who we are as a people." Young Okudiri, the chief's son, spoke. "But Papa, how can we tell that her remorse is genuine? She can barely speak." Perhaps that is exactly the point. When someone is stripped of the tool they used to cause harm, when a liar loses the ability to lie, their true character is revealed. Papa Nana got up to speak. He provided solution that would make the village calm. The ancient wise man got up. He said, "My children," he began, "you are debating whether to show mercy to someone who has shown none to others. This is worthy of discussion. The question is not whether she deserves forgiveness. The question is whether he deserves to be free. When someone wrongs us, we have a choice. We can carry their wrong as a weight in our hearts, letting it make us bitter and angry, or we can set the weight down and walk forward with lighter steps." Mama Ngozi wiped her tears. "But Papa Nana, if we forgive too easily, doesn't that make wrongdoing seem acceptable?" My dear, there is nothing easy about true forgiveness, and forgiveness does not mean pretending that wrongs mean right. I propose a test. Let the girl continue her attempts to make amends. Each person she has wronged has the right to decide whether to forgive or not. Let her complete her journey of seeking forgiveness from all those she has wronged. He raised his walking stick and left. With that, everybody was thrown into confusion. Nneka began a systematic campaign to reach every person her lies has touched. She returned to Mama Chidi's abandoned compound and knelt there entire day, weeping silently for the family she had driven away. Words reached Mama Chidi in her new village, and she said, "Tell that girl that her tears cannot undo what her mouth has done, but only show finally that she understands what she took from us. And for me, I have forgiven her." With Mazi Okafor, Nneka tried a different approach. Instead of attempting to enter his compound, she began performing acts of service. She swept the path to his dwelling each morning, weeded the small garden. At first, Mazi Okafor chased her away. Later, his wife accepted her, called her into the house, and she and Mazi Okafor forgave her. With each act of genuine service, each moment of true sincere remorse, each small acceptance or partial forgiveness from the community, her condition improved incrementally. But the process was slow, painful and far from guaranteed. Ngozi returned from Lagos. When she saw Nneka's condition, she was heartbroken. So she said quietly, "This is true, the ancestors have had their way." Nneka looked at the young girl suffering. "I realized that hating you was just another poison in my life. I've had enough of poison. I forgive you. I forgive you not because you deserve it, not because it undoes the damage, but because I choose to be free from the weight of carrying hatred in my heart." As these words were spoken, something miraculously happened. Nneka's tongue, which had remained stubbornly enlarged despite partial improvements, suddenly contracted to normal size. For the first time in months, she was able to close her mouth completely and speak clearly. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for giving me what I never gave you. Mercy, thank you so much." Words are like arrows. Once you release them, you cannot get them back. They will find their target and do their damage. The only choice you have is to aim carefully or shoot blindly in the crowd. When Nneka was asked what her situation taught her, she said, "I learned that the mouth that speaks evil will eventually turn against itself. I also learned that the mouth that speaks truth, even difficult truths, even painful apologies can heal what seemed impossible to repair. For those whose mouths run wild and uncontrollably like a tap, learn to control it before it puts you in trouble." Please subscribe, like, share your thoughts on this story. Share to your family and friends. Till I